welcome back to my channel. I am MG. This is my channel. There goes my phone. Alright. One more time. Ciao lovelies, welcome back to my channel. MG here. I hope that you all had a fabulous Thanksgiving. I know that I did. I by far ate way too much, but that is beside the point. Right now, here today, we are ready to talk about world building. This time, we're going to be talking about flora and fauna and all that jazz. So if you want to learn more about my sort of tips and just kind of get like a kickstart if you're kind of unsure about where to go with your world building, then this video, go ahead and sit down and we'll have a chat. And really quick, if you're not already, go ahead and drop open the info box below. I have my social media links down there. Hit the subscribe button if you want. Hit the bell if you want to be annoyed every time my videos pop up. And without further ado, into the video. Okay guys, so right now we're going to be talking about flora and fauna, and if you're not sure what flora and fauna is, real quick, flora basically just means plants and life forms, and fauna just means like the animals that live there. So we're talking about basically your ecosystems and your wildlife, and I know that ecosystem is kind of like a classwork sort of term, but ecosystems are really important for you to be aware of, especially in your story, because your ecosystem has to be sustainable. Not that you're necessarily going to write a scientific research on it, but it should make sense at the very least. Moving on from that, firstly, obviously, you're probably going to have a lot of the same, if not all the same, plants and stuff in your world. You'll probably have some form of grasses and trees and flowers and all that pretty greenery nonsense. You will probably want to be aware, back when you were back in the first video, you probably made some rocky landscapes, maybe some desert areas, some Antarctic kind of regions. Whatever you decide to do, realize that the area that you created is going to have a specific type of plant life that may or may not grow there. If it's a desert like the Sahara, there's probably not going to be really any plant life, or if it's the Antarctic, because these places are unsustainable for plant life unless, here comes the world building bit, you create your own sort of unique, only can live in these weird extreme environments plants. So what you want to do is you want to focus on less on making like all the plants in your world and kind of just making some really unique parts of it that sort of say your world. Kind of try to throw in just a few little fun pieces that you can pull up later in your story to sort of add a little more character and charm to your own world. Like in Lord of the Rings, the basis for Lord of the Rings was this greenery and these sort of UK European landscaping with some really big mountains that may have been influenced by, I don't know, the Alps or something like that. But basically, J.R.R. Tolkien in The Lord of the Rings took a lot of the landscapes that we were familiar with and he added his own twist to them. So for instance, there was the Ents, and the Ents were a plant life form, which they were both a plant and sort of a living creature in his world. And that sort of gives you an idea of what you're kind of looking to do with making your flora for the world. You're making something that's unique, kind of representative of your world itself and how it's different to our world. If you need more ideas besides Treebeard, I'm sure you've probably heard of that one show game thing, Pokemon. There's these little animals in there, and some of them are supposed to be like plants that are animals, kind of like the same thing as Treebeard, but like in a cartoon thing. I'm not sure, but the plants could have their own sort of characters and influences. If you read Greek or Roman mythology, you're probably familiar with nymphs and dryads. They're supposed to be forest spirits and that kind of thing. Those are kind of always a fun tidbit to add in. C.S. Lewis did basically just living trees where the trees could talk and stuff, kind of like Treebeard, but not. It was very, very interesting, kind of different. But basically try to add like your own unique twist on, well, what have you always thought would be sort of cool that a plant or a thing could be different involving? Something like that. Just make stuff up, guys. It's world building. There's no set rule to it. Just kind of like look at ideas and come up with pieces and just kind of like try to put it together. And you don't necessarily have to have the plants have voices or being alive. They can just be unique plants that have special properties. Like, look at examples of unique plants here in our world, such as the Venus flytrap, the massive baobab trees, the corpse lily, the sausage tree. There's all kinds of unique plants that are in our world that you don't necessarily think of, that you can always use as a basis to create your own sort of idea of a unique plant that could have special properties like poison or spits, acid, sort of just unique things. Just go ahead and add whatever you feel like that may or may not be useful in your story, because it's world building and you get to do whatever you want. Moving on from the flora, we are getting into fauna, or the animals, which is always my favorite part of adding stuff to a story. Because I write mostly fantasy, I tend to go with the more traditional sort of fantasy creatures as dragons or griffins or I don't know, flying whales. Just whatever you feel like. You could just add animals that are unique to your world that function in different ways. Make sure, again, the same with the plants, that they have to function correctly in your ecosystem. So you can't stick a heavily furred Antarctic type creature in a Saharan desert. Unless that there's a special reason why that's there, it's not going to make much sense in the ecosystem. You're going to want to make certain that the animals correspond to the ecosystem, because then it makes your world more believable and sustainable in sort of the mind and how we understand the world to work. For ideas, you could look up unique animals that live here on Earth, the same as the plants. There are certain unique animals. The fennec fox is sort of unique looking, but there's fluffy cows, raccoon dogs, wombats, kangaroos. Just look at Australia and all their nonsense. You just start with that and go from there. But yeah, just kind of look up unique animals here on Earth to kind of help yourself get started. Another idea for creating animals for your world is you could combine more than one animal. You could combine 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of an animal, sort of make like a chimera type animal. I don't know how well any of you are aware, but there's this animal in the Midwest that a lot of people talk about. It's called the jackalope, and it's basically it's a bunny with stag deer horns, and it's very cute, very adorable. I have seen a few, but I'm going to say this right now: they are not real. They're totally made up. It's this total belief across the Midwest that we have to trick everyone into thinking there's jackalopes. There's not really jackalopes. Okay, we put deer horns on bunnies and we call it a jackalope. It's just that's it. Just go ahead and create your own animal using the same idea. You could make a flying bunny instead, or you could make a flying dog. It's whatever you want to do. So just kind of combine animals and just see what you end up with. I saw some people went and they combined a prey animal and a carnivore animal, and they kind of made it work. And it was sort of like a really weird, interesting twist on world building with animals. So I thought I would just suggest that for any of you that felt like you wanted to do that. I thought it was a very neat idea. And another idea is you could also go through and look at images and browse pictures of what other people draw for their worlds and how they make their animals, and just kind of see how other people come to their conclusions for what type of animals are in their world. I will warn you, do not plagiarize these animals. Those people worked really hard on their own worlds and making their own creatures. I'm just suggesting this to kind of help you see sort of what your goal is with the end process of sort of combining animals and making up animals. You could also take, say, a sea animal and try to turn it into a land animal, or turn a land animal into a sea animal of some kind. It's up to you. Again, I will say, please do not steal wholesale these ideas from other people. It's really not nice. It's not what we want to promote here in any sort of writing community, any sort of artistic community. If they're doing it for their comic books or just for fun, just don't do that. It's not nice. Just use the idea, sort of get yourself started, and then keep going from there. And then my last tip for making this world of flora and fauna and geography and everything, you're going to want to keep track of everything that you make. So write this down or keep it in a Word or Google document. Just sort of have some place that you can reference. Make sure you write down all the key points of whatever you create, and maybe put some images into a collage, or if you're good at drawing, go ahead and draw it out for yourself. Just kind of keep a record of what you're doing, otherwise you're going to forget when you come back later, and then you're going to be confused about what that thing did and why it was there. I'm just saying that you guys are going to want to keep track, because you're going to make some awesome things, and you're going to want to remember why you did that and how they work. And that's all I have for you lovelies. Thank you so much for watching. Next up, I'm going to try and talk about races and societies and stuff like that, sort of forming your people creatures. If you have more than one race, then this will probably help you. If you have one race, then hopefully it'll help you too. But that's the goal for the next video. I hope that you guys will tune in for that. If you want to know when that comes up, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. And the word of the day to end out this video is minutia. And minutia means a minute or minor detail. So go ahead and go out there and add all of your minutia to your world, so that people know that it's a unique and totally your world, and it has your own flair and twist on it. And I hope that you guys always have fun, and that you always have enough of whatever you need in life, and that you had a wonderful and happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas, guys. I'll see you next time. Ciao!